Welcome to Spelling Bee Ninja, your go-to podcast for exploring the depths of human thought and experience. Today, we invite you to think deeply with us as we dive into one of philosophy's greatest mysteries, consciousness. We believe that understanding our awareness is essential for grappling with life's big questions. If you're eager to expand your mind and join our learning community, subscribe now for free educational content that sparks curiosity and inspires deeper thinking. Let's begin our exploration of consciousness. What does it truly mean to be conscious? Defined simply, consciousness is the state of being aware of and able to think about one's own existence, thoughts, sensations, and the world around us. This profound aspect of human experience encompasses both awareness, being conscious of something, and self-awareness, being conscious of oneself. Despite its essential role in our lives, consciousness remains a deeply enigmatic concept. The philosopher Thomas Nagel famously posed the question, "What is it like to be a bat?" His inquiry highlights the subjective nature of consciousness, emphasizing the unique and personal experience each of us undergoes. This aspect raises challenges not only in philosophy but also in findings from psychology and neuroscience. As fascinating as it is, consciousness remains difficult to define and explore, leading to ongoing debates among philosophers and scientists about its origins and whether it is a quality unique to humans or shared with other sentient beings. Diving deeper into this topic, we should also consider the philosophical distinction between two approaches to studying consciousness: materialism and dualism. Materialism, or physicalism, posits that consciousness stems from physical processes in the brain. On the other hand, dualism suggests that the mind and body are fundamentally different substances. One of dualism's most notable proponents, René Descartes, famously declared, "I think, therefore I am." He suggested that the mind, a non-physical entity, interacts with the body through specific pathways. Despite the advances of neuroscience, which lends support to materialist arguments, many questions remain about consciousness, particularly regarding subjective experiences. This brings us to a crucial point: the hard problem of consciousness. Coined by philosopher David Chalmers, this term refers to the challenge of explaining why and how we have subjective experiences, the what it is like quality that is difficult to pin down scientifically. While we can measure cognitive functions and behaviors, the so-called easy problems of consciousness, Chalmers argues that these do not clarify how physical processes give rise to personal consciousness. This debate continues, with some philosophers defending dualistic positions while others adhere to a strictly materialistic view. Another intriguing aspect of consciousness is the concept of qualia. Qualia refer to the subjective, qualitative properties of experiences, such as the sensation of red when you see a rose or the pain from a headache. Some argue that these qualia cannot be fully captured by physical science due to their inherently subjective nature. Philosopher Frank Jackson famously challenged physicalism with his knowledge argument using the thought experiment of Mary, a neuroscientist. Mary has lived her entire life in a black and white room, learning everything about color scientifically. When she finally sees a red object, does she learn something new? This thought experiment suggests that there is more to consciousness than what physical explanations can capture, which fuels the debate on the existence and nature of qualia in the philosophy of mind. Another thought-provoking concept in this realm is the zombie argument. This philosophical thought experiment posits the possibility of a philosophical zombie, a being physically identical to a human but lacking consciousness. If such beings are conceivable, some argue that consciousness cannot be purely physical. David Chalmers developed this argument, positing that if zombies are conceivable, it raises significant doubts about materialism. Critics, however, argue that just because we can conceive of zombies doesn't mean they are possible in reality. This argument has sparked rich discussions on the nature of consciousness and its relationship with the physical world. Moving beyond individuals, we must also ask the question, do animals possess consciousness? This intriguing inquiry has been divisively debated for centuries. Today, many scholars in philosophy and science support the idea that a variety of animal species, especially mammals and birds, exhibit signs of consciousness. The Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness, signed by prominent neuroscientists in 2012, stated that many animals, including all mammals, birds, and octopuses, have consciousness. Researchers base this conclusion on compelling evidence that animals express complex behaviors, emotions, and brain structures similar to humans. However, the extent of consciousness in various species remains a topic of ongoing inquiry, with significant ethical implications regarding animal treatment in agriculture, research, and conservation. Altered states of consciousness provide another fascinating angle to examine. These altered states modify our typical waking consciousness and can arise through various means, including meditation, hypnosis, the use of certain drugs, sleep, or mental illness. Studies of these altered states reveal much about the nature of consciousness itself, demonstrating how it can be changed or disrupted. For example, meditation has shown potential in transforming brain activity and enhancing well-being. Meanwhile, hallucinogenic substances like psilocybin and LSD have been known to dramatically alter perception and thought patterns. All these forms of altered consciousness invite researchers to probe the boundaries and possibilities of consciousness further. The intricate relationship between consciousness and free will raises philosophical questions about our decision-making processes. If our actions are determined solely by physical processes, could it be that conscious will is merely an illusion? In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted controversial experiments revealing that brain activity related to a decision appears before we consciously perceive making that decision. These findings have led to discussions questioning the authenticity of our sense of free will, prompting some philosophers to advocate for compatibilism, the belief that free will and determinism can coexist, while others argue they are fundamentally incompatible. This exploration of consciousness and free will forms a critical thread in contemporary philosophical discourse, influencing ethics, law, and our comprehension of human nature. Finally, we ought to consider the evolutionary perspective. What role does consciousness play in evolution? Some philosophers and scientists argue that consciousness might be an evolutionary adaptation, enhancing organisms' ability to survive and reproduce. It could potentially enrich our capacities to plan, learn, and make informed decisions. However, the evolutionary function of consciousness remains debated. Some propose that it may merely be a byproduct of increasing brain complexity, while others maintain that consciousness directly contributes to survival. For instance, a conscious mind might help predict future events or navigate social interactions. Yet, many cognitive processes may still occur without conscious awareness, raising compelling questions about the necessity of consciousness for complex behaviors. This evolutionary lens links consciousness to broader biological and ecological contexts, enriching our understanding of the history of life's development on Earth. Returning to our overarching theme, consciousness remains one of the most profound mysteries across philosophy, science, and medicine. Despite remarkable progress in understanding the brain, we still grapple with how these intricate processes generate our conscious experiences. The exploration of consciousness involves a vibrant cross-disciplinary effort, engaging philosophers, neuroscientists, psychologists, and computer scientists alike. As technology, like advanced brain imaging and artificial intelligence, gains ground, fresh insights into consciousness continue to arise. Yet, the hard problem looms large, reminding us of our current limitations in comprehending the full spectrum of awareness. The ongoing quest to unravel the mysteries of consciousness stands as one of the most captivating intellectual pursuits of the 21st century, inviting us to deepen our understanding of what it means to be alive and aware. Today, we've traversed the complex landscape of consciousness, exploring its definition and significance, and delving into philosophical debates about materialism and dualism. We've examined the hard problem of consciousness along with qualia, the zombie argument, and the question of animal consciousness. We also touched on altered states, the interplay between consciousness and free will, and the evolutionary aspect of consciousness. Each of these elements contributes to a wider understanding of not just consciousness itself, but the very essence of human existence and experience. Thank you for joining us in this thought-provoking discussion on consciousness. We hope you found it enlightening and engaging. If you're curious about more philosophical topics and eager to expand your understanding of complex concepts, subscribe to Spelling Bee Ninja for future episodes. Together, let's continue our journey through the fascinating world of ideas and human thought.